I think this'll be the best Hanukkah yet.
It is time for Hanukkah to spin the drill and light the menorah. We'll eat some guilt as well. Their stories we will tell. Come and celebrate for a while, even if you're Gentile. The Hanukkah days are here. Let's celebrate all eight right now. Bob.
Welcome to In Each Retelling, the podcast where we explore all the ways old tales are made new. I am your host, Jasmine Garcia. Happy early Hanukkah, everyone. We actually get 2 Hanukkah specials this year. What? And joining me today are...
I'm Charley, the secret ninth knight, Marlowe.
And I am Cesari of the Maccabees. I missed the whole battle part, you know, that I slept in that day.
Wasn't important.
Yeah.
That's so funny, because I am Charley of the Seleucid Empire, so we're like star-crossed co-hosts here. We're not meant to be together.
But we have been together for 10 years as collaborators.
Oh, yes, that's true. This doubles as our anniversary celebration.
So what'd you get me?
I got you nothing, because you made me edit this whole fucking 9-hour podcast myself.
That's fair.
9 hours, holy shit. Well, fortunately, you will not have to edit what can kind of almost be a bonus Mystery Shack Lookback podcast. Yay.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And today, because I have the hosts of Mystery Shack Lookback here, we're actually going to be talking about a little fan work they did, how the Grunkle stole Hanukkah.
Greetings, I am IER60, Star Wars Retelling Connections, point of intersection found. This is a degree 6. Malcolm Ray was in the star.
Whoa! Sorry to interrupt you, buddy, but... how do I put this? I'm guessing you don't know which channel we're talking about when we mention the channel we don't talk to anymore, huh?
Host Jasmine, I'm not programmed to acknowledge social media drama. That is not an exaggeration. Host Sam thought it would quote-unquote corrupt my circuits.
Okay, and you know what? They were so right for that. Frankly, I also don't want to try to summarize over 60 pages of Google Doc, so no circuit frying today, buddy. But let's just say, as a general policy, we don't talk about Walker. No. We don't talk about Walker.
You have been wanting to do that joke for a while now, haven't you?
Maybe. Oh, come on. It was the perfect opportunity. Anyway, I don't suppose there's another route we can go with the degrees. Maybe? Pretty please?
That depends. Please hold for a second. Recalculating. We're in luck. New point of intersection found. Malcolm Ray was in Lackadaisy with Andrew Stadler, who was in Visions. Does that work?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better. I'd much rather have anthropomorphic 1920s kitties over the channel we don't talk to anymore. Now, where were we?
Which is our first collaboration. It came out December 19th, 2014, which, if you're doing the math, that is 10 years. And we have been inseparable ever since. We're 2 halves of the same brain. And it all started here.
We have to use the parlance of our other podcast. How the Grunkle Stole Hanukkah is a fan-made Gravity Falls Hanukkah special. It premiered on December 19th, 2014 on YouTube. And
it was storyboarded by Cesari and written by Cesari and Charley Marlowe.
Yeah. Well, sounds interesting.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about what inspired you guys to do this first, or do you want to go into your connections to the source material first?
I mean, I guess it's what we did first, just because of the time of the year, right? Because we started discussing it around Thanksgiving of 2014.
Yeah, so I remember we were just typing to each other on Skype at the time, and we're like,
Oh, Skype. We hardly knew ye.
you know, we understand that the last name of the creator of Gravity Falls is Hirsch. He describes himself as being raised by a couple of secular hippies from the Bay Area. Ella and I are both matrilineally Jewish and completely secular. And there'd been a lot of fan art of like the Pines doing Jewish holidays, and it did not really reflect our experiences as biracial secular people. And we started like joking about what a story would be like that reflected that, and the jokes got too good, so we opened up a Google Doc.
Yeah.
And then the Google Doc got too organized, so we turned it into a script. And then
Also, it was that this was, in terms of the Gravity Falls episode release timeline, the latest episode to come out had been in November of 2014, and it was The Love God. And then we realized we were in for another hiatus, which you know, we already went through the 364-day long one between the seasons, so we kind of knew what we were in for, and I think we were trying to provide something to hunker down with for the cold winter.
And that is what Hanukkah is. Every culture has a holiday during the coldest months because seasonal affective disorder.
You'll die otherwise, probably.
Yeah, if you do not
love
like
it.
spend time with family around the most depressing part of the year. And
Because then when January comes around and you don't have
January, which there's not going to be an episode then either.
Nah, dog.
We got fucking January. Yeah,
This was
so
just a beautiful result of hiatus brain, basically.
Exactly. Well, and we've talked about hiatus brain at length.
we whenever we would make a video, we would get a comment like, "This is what the hiatus does to people," and we always would reply, "No, we're just like this."
Fair.
But we put this in exactly a 3-week turnaround. I recall,
Which
like,
I'm very impressed by.
yeah, because I was working the American version of part-time where it's like 39 hours, so they don't have to give you
Part-time.
benefits, at a movie theater at the time, and would like come home at like midnight and just
Oh,
work
God.
on mixing the audio of this because we
Why
really
did they use that take?
the worst one. I remember because it was such a tight, like it was Thanksgiving, and we're like, we have to release this on Hanukkah or it doesn't make sense.
Apparently that year it was around the 19th.
Yeah,
I
so
remember that.
we messaged, we cast Stan. I messaged Ryan Chongo show and was just like, "Can you do a Stan impression?" And he said yes. And then I just sent him the script and a due date without asking him to record a sample or anything because it's like we just did not have time.
Yeah, and there were no like directed record sessions or anything. It was just like, here's the lines, send them on over, and
And I mean, he was great, so.
We did not hold auditions at all. So Citrus Storm, who voiced Dipper, had posted a sample of him doing, we're mutuals in the Sam and Max Monkey Island fandom, point and click adventure game fandom, and he posted a clip of him doing a Hiccup impression, and I'm like, close enough, you're Dipper.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the one who voiced Mabel, I don't remember their name. They were a mutual. I think.
That's here. Let me check the credits.
Yeah. But that's probably not what they go by anymore.
Well, it was a username they went by at the time.
Yeah.
Twisted Through Time was
Through Time, I think, was a mutual from the Team Fortress fandom who just posted like the accent challenge that was going around on Tumblr at the time, and I was like, you kind of sound like Mabel. Not a voice actor.
Pretty much all the cast was solid. I definitely recognize your voice at some points there, Char. I feel like I recognized your voice at some points there.
I was a bunch of background characters. Ella was Seuss.
And Gideon.
And Gideon.
At this point, also, we had known each other for almost a year at that point, so we knew each other's like comedic rhythms, number one, and also like what voices we were already, had in our lineup. So we knew what was covered. So
like which background characters show up is based on who we knew we could imitate. So like I knew Ella had a great Gideon, which is why there's the ending gag, and I'm always doing Matt Chapman voices, which is why briefly the Hand Witch and her boyfriend show up, and why one of the members of Several Times shows up.
So it allowed us to not have to think about which other characters to include and kind of populate the world based on what we already had, which is it was a fun limitation to work with. I remember it was
would not have thought of it as a limitation. It was just an overall really solid fan special there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is, I believe, the first fan-made episode of Gravity Falls, because, like, a couple people have done it since. Velskibum, who was inspired by us, and then
Kian.
Mystery Seeker, who does Deep Woods Project,
Oh my God, yeah.
who was inspired directly by us, he told us. And then Kian Carlisle made a fan-made episode and was inspired by Mystery Seeker's Deep Woods Project to do so, which was inspired by us. So, like...
We're grandparents.
And speaking of grandparents, you asked
Speaking
if
of
we should...
grandparents, that's true.
Yeah, you asked if we should talk about our familiarity with celebrating Hanukkah or the special first, and I couldn't answer that.
Well, since, I guess, the retelling, it's effectively a retelling of both How the Grinch Stole Christmas and just the story of Hanukkah in general and Hanukkah's placement in culture.
Okay, so first, I used to go around schools performing the Lorax on Labor Day and How the Grinch Stole Christmas on Christmas, and I...
the Lorax on Labor Day.
Labor Day. Did I say Labor Day?
Arbor Day?
Why did I... No, Earth Day.
Day?
Why did I say Labor Day? Homestar Brain.
Oh, yeah.
Earth
So
Day.
Lorax on Earth Day, perfect.
And I got like super into Dr. Seuss's writing because it was like my first time visiting it as an adult, and it was me as an actor trying to take each page and figure out like what the emotion in it is, and like he's way better than I remembered from childhood. And just
there's a lot of clever stuff that goes over your head when you're a kid.
And Grinch is just perfect. It's a perfect book. It's a perfect Chuck Jones special.
It's a perfect Jim Carrey gift set and not much else.
Just something I was just generally a huge fan of at the time, and still am, but like my Dr. Seuss fandom was at its peak at the time. And then, okay, so being raised secular to a mom who didn't care about Jewish traditions and a dad who didn't care about Christian traditions and a dad who was too old to have living parents, my only exposure to religion growing up was my mom's mom, my grandma, the late great Carol J. Cathy. And so like in my mind, inseparable, Hanukkah is the Carol Cathy holiday. Generally, Jewish people do not care about Hanukkah that much. It's not a major holiday. She is the exception. She is like, if Hanukkah has one fan, it's her. And it does in fact have 0 fans because, well, no, it's okay. It's okay. She lived a full life. She basically went into college to major in acting, much to her parents' disapproval. And then when she was 20, she had a crush on a boy, and her father said she could not date under any circumstances. So she had to drop out of school, stop studying acting, and elope halfway across the country in South Carolina. And he wound up stealing her money and leaving her with 2 kids. And so she ran back home with her tail between her legs and just majored in whatever her parents wanted her to because she never wanted to disobey them again. And she just had to stop pursuing acting. And I'm like, if I am making a Hanukkah video that, judging by how big the Gravity Falls fandom is and how many followers Ella had on Tumblr at the time for her blog, Awkward Gravity Falls Screen Caps, my grandma needs to be a part of it. Another story about her being the #1 Hanukkah fan. She said, Happy Hanukkah to a clerk at a store once. And the clerk said, Happy Holidays, as if correcting her. And she was so upset when she came back into the car. And I said, well, sarcastically, well, there's a war on Christmas, Grandma. And she said, I know, I'm leading it.
I mean, that kind of leads into the plot in a way of the special.
Inseparable. I want to get back into celebrating Jewish holidays, but it just doesn't even make sense in my brain without her. And so that is her voice as Bernie, the guardian of the ever-burning oil. That is a woman who had to quit her acting dreams, drop them in their steps back in the 60s, now having a major role in a video with 300,000 views.
It's a lot to provide that role, and it was the only, original character that we invented for the special. Obviously trying to keep it in line with the Gravity Falls feeling, but I think just the way that she speaks, because we wrote her very naturalistically to all your accounts of the way.
Well, so it was. I had a video on my old channel of me pointing the camera at her and telling her to say hi to YouTube, and then she just goes on about something. She always starts her stories in the middle, which
Like you already know what she's talking about.
Yeah, one time I remember getting a phone call from her. I think she started mid-sentence in the middle of a story. I was at a restaurant. I had to be like, hey, I can't talk right now. But she was already telling a story. So all of her stories start from the middle, which is why Bernie, who just met these children for the first time, keeps going, you know my cousin.
Yeah. So anyway, Cuthbert,
No, we do not, Bernie.
And so Ella, I had shown Ella that video, and she suggested, what if Bernie talked like that? And because we talked about this on our podcast, Gravity Falls villains have something terrifying about them and something ridiculous about them.
Oh, 100%. It's part of their charm.
And so that was Ella's contribution. And I'm like, I cannot get my grandma to agree to drive to my house and record it on my microphone to make fun of herself. So what I did instead was, do you want to be in my Hanukkah video? And she was like, yes. And I'm like, all right, come over to my house. And she's just doing cold reads, almost first take of every line. And halfway through, she was like, hey, wait a second.
Right, because we got some of her sort of catchphrases in there, like "ugh" and "disgusting."
Yeah, the "ugh," and she disgusting. Specifically one day told me how to spell that because she says it all the time, and I'm like, "How do you spell that?" And she's like, "O-C-H."
Yeah, and also calling people abrupt,
which I don't agree with her use of that adjective. I don't think a person can be abrupt.
I don't think it means what she thinks it means.
Yeah, I remember she used to say, "I'm so disappointed" every single time we saw her, and at a certain point, she started using a synonym every time, and we had to think it must have been on purpose. Like someone must have challenged her vocabulary because she is a absurdly intellectual woman as well. Like she had her PhD equivalency, which basically means that she had all of the credits to get a PhD just from having educated herself so much. She just never did the final thesis. This was a woman who was too smart for her own good and completely insane.
You told me a story about a mailbox once, or an oven, I want to say.
Okay, can I? Yes. Okay, here we go. This is my favorite. This is my favorite.
To go in.
I need to tell this somewhere. So the context I need you to know is that she told us this story without warning us that it was the funniest story we've ever heard. She didn't think it was funny. She thought it was very stressful and got mad that we were laughing too loud for her to hear herself speak. Oh, no. So she tells us that she wanted to mail a letter to my cousin Graham. Well, a birthday card. And a card is a little bit heavier than paper. So she's like, I should put another stamp on this just in case. So what she could have done is pulled a stamp off of the sheet where she got the first one. That is the logical conclusion of form here. But no. She had a scam that she'd been planning for decades for this occasion, where whenever she would send care packages to my sisters at summer camp, she would space them apart really far. So when they marked them off as unusable lazily at the post office, they would miss one or two. And then when she would visit for visiting day, for Parents' Day at summer camp, somehow, my sister says, we definitely threw out these packages. I do not know if she had made a deal with our counselors or something.
Getting the stamps.
She would peel off the ones that didn't get properly marked off. And she had a drawer full of them waiting for this occasion, which is where Stan hoarding gelt for 12 years comes from. That was how she treated everything. I
wasn't gonna say,
Stan
but
would do. Yeah,
it's 100% something Stan would do.
I can't write a script without referencing something that she said, because she was the funniest person I've ever met, sometimes intentionally, but not usually.
No, yeah, it sounds like usually it was unintentional.
So she pulls out one of her federal crime stamps, I guess we'll call them, from her federal crime drawer, because it is a federal offense. This is mail fraud.
It's just the one crime, but there's a lot of federal crime in that drawer.
Yeah. So it's not sticky, of course. It's 10 years old and there's cardboard on the back of it. So, okay, Jazz, I must ask, if you needed to put a stamp that wasn't sticky on an envelope, what is your next step?
Get a glue stick or something.
Glue stick, exactly. And the fact that you said glue stick means not only glue should be used, the exact type of glue. Yes, glue stick, 100%. It is designed for gluing paper to paper. That's what it's for. It is not something you would use, say, Gorilla Glue for. Unless it was all the glue you owned at the time, and your goal here was to not spend any more money.
That's right.
Now, again,
Might as well buy more stamps.
At this point, my grandma would be yelling at you for laughing at this story. And that we didn't know how to stop. It was the funny. So, okay.
Apologies to the ghost of Charlie's grandma, I guess.
I know, and she does haunt me in my dreams sometimes, but to Bernie, yeah. Apologies to Bernie, the guardian of the flame. So, the Gorilla Glue, unfortunately, was hardened shut. Jazz, what do you do at this point?
If I must use the Gorilla Glue, I guess I run it under some hot water or something?
That's correct. That's good advice for everyone listening. What you shouldn't do,
Hey,
and
kids.
pay attention to this,
Don't try this at home, kids.
No,
don't
please.
microwave it. Radiation and chemicals,
No.
not friends. That's how you get Godzillas.
That's true.
Do you want Godzillas? Because this is how you get Godzillas.
This is how you
Yeah.
This is how you get Godzilla traditionally. This is how you get a blob that sort of creeps and leaps and glides and slides across the floor.
Yes. Jazz, I must ask, pretend somehow your life has led you to a point where you are microwaving Gorilla Glue. Just suspension of disbelief, okay? You have to
Sure.
be in this situation. Do you,
Sure.
A, stand there and watch the microwave to make sure nothing goes wrong, or B, leave the room and find something else to do?
But I'm guessing that's not
I
the
think you can
answer.
focus on
No,
other
it's
things.
not what she did! And so a few minutes later, she hears, and
Like the microwave sneezed.
the loudest popping sound, the loudest popping sound you can imagine, echoing, reverberating through the halls of her apartment.
Ears are ringing.
And she opens it. The bottle has disintegrated. There is no bottle. But there is what appears to be molasses dripping down the door and the walls of the microwave. So she's like,
and then Tim Curry's voice came out of it, and it started.
toxic love.
God.
So she tries to clean it, which of course you have to rinse out the sponge. She makes a mess of her whole kitchen. She ruins the microwave. She ruins the kitchen.
To save money on a stamp.
To save money on a and okay, I need you to also know every time she saw us, she would give us free books of stamps as like a little gift.
Mm-hmm.
So
For context, dear listeners, they are laughing because I just made the most perplexed face you could imagine.
So again, we
There
were
are two.
not allowed to laugh at this story while it was happening, while she was telling it.
I think that's an unrealistic expectation on you.
She has to. The idea that she didn't know that this was the funniest story in the world blows my mind. So anyway,
I both fear and admire this woman.
no.
Yeah.
She discovered that she had multiple sclerosis because she was running the national marathon in Washington, D.C. and found it a little difficult.
Yeah.
The Terminator.
Per her request, we credited her as Charlie's super grandma, and I think that's
Yeah.
accurate.
That's
she
accurate.
undefeatable. Like, no, when you were like, I'm so sorry when she died, I'm like, I'm happy she is resting finally. No, unstoppable. I still don't 100% believe she's just going to be dead forever. It doesn't really add up in my mind. Like, no. So anyway, when she went to mail the letter, the envelope, because of course she dipped the stamp on the door of the microwave.
Well,
So
if it's sticky.
The envelope was drooling, and she was worried all of the other letters in the public blue mailbox were going to stick to this.
Yeah, that's a
Non-zero
reasonable
chance.
fear.
Like, wow, Grandma, thanks for the birthday card, or I guess great Aunt Carol, because that's my second cousin. Wow, Aunt Carol, thanks for the birthday card and
And the sympathy
some
card.
magazines and a couple people's bills and the big blue mailbox. Lovely gift.
It's gonna look great in my living room.
Apparently, somehow, he received this letter and only this letter, and we had to buy her a new microwave. And that is how she saved up to 75 cents on postage.
Try that at home, kids.
No,
Do not.
no,
Do
no matter
do-
how bad the tariffs get, my fellow Americans, please no.
Never
Yeah,
do
not
this.
worth it.
Do not do a single step of that story. Listen, no, again, she lived to her 70s. How?
Apparently, that's the secret.
She ran marathons while suffering from multiple sclerosis. She microwaved Gorilla Glue. As far as I'm concerned, immortal. That's as close to immortal as a person has ever been.
I think you're probably right.
And which is why she plays an immortal here.
Right.
But wait, that's not the end of the story, because
Okay.
another time some paint was hardened shut, some acrylic paint. And
God.
this time she stood by and listened for the pop. And the moral of the story, according to the late great super grandma, Carol J. Cathy, is I guess you can't put these kinds of things in the microwave for too long.
Well, you can't leave them unattended.
No, you can't put them in the microwave for too long. Not you can't. That was her idea of the moral.
Okay.
So anyway, that's why Bernie talks like that.
Yeah. I don't have a as directly personal of a connection
I
with
still
a
wanna
family
hear it.
member through Hanukkah.
I still want to hear it.
I definitely,
You
similar
put
to-
in one of your relatives' names and
I
one of
did put in
Bernie's.
my grandma's name in
Okay.
accordance
Rosa.
to accompany your cousins' names that they bring out as
Yeah,
alternative
well,
names.
like Dean, like calling up being Dean and Joey. That's my cousins, her other grandchildren. And then Bernie tells a story about his aunt Rosa, which is Ella's grandma.
I like the nebulous gender status of Bernie.
Well, no, I've always seen Bernie as male. I did digitally pitch down Grandma's voice. And we did ask you to, because the original design was just like a fire with arms and it looked so empty. And I'm like, he needs something on
I
his...
wanted to add something.
And then I was like, look up pictures of Eugene Levy. And that's why there's the very round glasses and the giant eyebrows. Because I thought the way to Jewish code a character would not be to engage in any stereotypes, but to take influence from one specific Jew.
And I guess the yarmulke was always there, I think.
The yarmulke was always there, yeah.
It's, somewhat gendered, I suppose.
Yeah, you kind of have to have that.
No, I always saw Bernie as male, but it is a cross play. It is a cross-dressing
Which I
voiceover
always
performance.
love. I mean, I love me.
And my grandma would also do Read Across America at the school my mom worked at and perform Bartholomew Cubbins and the Oobleck for the children. So like that's why she has this very storybook way of delivering her delivering her lines there.
I can hear her voice saying Oobleck as you say.
Yeah, that was her favorite one. I would do Lorix and the Grinch at those events at my mom's school, and she would do Bartholomew Cubbins and the Oobleck. And
This is so charming. Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean,
yes.
similar to Charlie, being raised, secularly, but still observing the holidays. It's like, but I was also of that dual faith upbringing. Well, that dual religious upbringing of like,
Right.
I went to church once a year, and it was just for Christmas Mass, and it was just to
Christmas Mass is redundant.
Yeah, well,
It kind of is, isn't it?
that's
Christ
true.
Mass.
Yeah, that's true. It was
Damn it,
just for
Moon
Christ
Moon.
Mass.
Insert
Well, that's also, I guess all Mass is Christ Mass.
It was just for the birthday Christ Mass.
Right.
Yeah, and I never brought him anything, which I'm embarrassed about.
No, but he did make you eat his blood.
I never had to do that, thankfully.
Okay.
Oh, good.
I think I was like, I know this couldn't have been on the same day, but I want to say that it was just circumcised and then baptized, just tossed right in after the circumcision. Just one
I was circumcised but not baptized.
Ah, okay.
I think my mom had partially because her mom was still alive, I guess, had a little more of a connection with her birth faith than my dad did.
Yeah, but again, I think there was this complex familial politics that even I don't fully understand of like, we're going to maneuver you through these religions in a way that will satisfy all parties of our respective parents. I'm like, okay. And then it's just like, well, I get more presents, so that's fine. I get Christmas and Hanukkah presents, then that's fine. And
I had a lot of classmates like that, but
I definitely observed more Jewish holidays in terms of like not going to synagogue, but just the gathering of them. And so, I mean, for context, like Charlie said, Hanukkah is not a particularly prominent holiday in Judaism. There's sort of a tier list of holidays. There's like there's the high holy days, which are like Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, generally related to those kinds of big holidays, the New Year and the Atonement.
Hanukkah is the celebration of the victory of the Maccabean revolt over the Seleucid Empire, which is a historical event I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. And so, like, I would say, like, in terms of, like, American calendar, it's the equivalent of, like, Flag Day.
right.
Sure. Or like, yeah, pretty much. And that our menorah was still there.
Hey.
And,
Which is after the battle is over. God did not show up to help him. He just showed up to help him party. And that's why the traditions are dreidel, gambling, Dreidel is gambling. And it's just recreating the party they had when they won.
mm-hmm.
Well, Much
And
fair.
and I mean, also, I know you've talked about it on this very podcast before, but the Rugrats special was also
Yes.
was more religious upbringing than the education I got at that age.
Mhm.
Generally, it normalized, Hanukkah in my world in a way where I was like, oh, other people don't like know this stuff. That's interesting. So I think that contributed to us, writing this Gravity Falls fan episode in which
We a fictional world where everyone knows about Hanukkah.
where Hanukkah is the dominant holiday. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's also the fact that, like you said, Charlie, it's the timing of Hanukkah in the year being the winter holiday and getting lumped in with Christmas as like, well, that
Yes.
it must be as important to your faith as this holiday is to ours.
Which was a
Yeah.
marketing plan by Crisco. True
Right,
story.
Chrismica. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I heard that episode of Escape from Walt Disney too. I was like,
Yes.
oh, I didn't know that part.
Yep. Crisco was like, hey, there's an obscure Jewish holiday on, and one of their traditions is oiled food. I just actually ate latkes, appropriately enough.
Latkes are the best. I like as I mentioned before, I'm not Jewish, but I did grow up on Long Island, so I did have a deli that would
So
make
you're
these
Jewish.
delicious.
Yeah, so you're
We made this point in the Hanukkah episode. I do not consider myself like an
Right, but
honorary
we
Jewish.
do. That we
no,
do.
see,
I-
but look. Ella needed to emphasize it better. There are two. Ella and I were matrilineal Jewish, so we're Jewish. You're Jew-ish.
Okay, yeah. It's more
Because
about-
there are, I know, I was also amazed to find out there are parts of the country where it's just like, what's like genuinely like, what's Christmas, Daddy? Like that people have that level of understanding of Jewish holidays, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Just learn about other cultures. Why not?
And also, yeah, Hanukkah is not a particularly complicated holiday. You can't explain it in a
No,
Rugrats.
yeah, it's like they won a war. They wanted to celebrate. They wanted to light candles to celebrate. The candle or light oil to celebrate. The oil lasted longer than expected, and all the other traditions are just partying because you're celebrating winning a war. Like gambling, like gift exchange. Those are all party things. And that's the mindset that this was written from the perspective of, is that Ella and I had very similar upbringings.
Right.
And something interesting I find rewatching it, Dipper and Mabel are completely indifferent to which holiday they're celebrating. Like it,
Which is
It's true.
I think relates to at least how I was
same.
brought up,
No,
and
yeah.
probably how Alex Hirsch was brought up. Not that we've ever discussed that.
No, we haven't
Just
asked him.
happy to be celebrating anything, basically. Which
Yeah, getting gifts. Like,
yeah.
I guess like the movies are cooler for Christmas. I knew that.
Well, there's more of them,
Yeah.
and they have 100% less Adam Sandler.
100% less. Well, less Alan Colbert too. And Rob Schneider.
Oh yeah, there's there's
Ooh.
not much Rob Schneider. No.
Yeah, no.
No.
Again,
A weird amount of Tim Allen.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's true.
Like an excess of Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that we mentioned it, because a challenge for this podcast is finding things. Because I always wanted to make sure we addressed winter holidays beyond Christmas. I did not want to be part of the problem here.
Mm-mm.
You want it to be on the winning side in the
Yeah. Well, so the day
honor our fallen general.
the day she died in 2020 during COVID, it was announced that Easter would be canceled that year because of COVID. So I think she won in the end.
She did win, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that now that you mention it, obviously that was part of our motivation as well, was to be
Yeah.
like, let's add to the list that is Rugrats and
Lamb chop.
Yeah.
Lamb Chop
And there's also an Even Stevens episode.
and Even Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as of now, there's the Ghost and Molly McGee, the
Yes.
Disney Channel show, did one. That
Elena
was
of
quite
Avalor.
good.
We covered that last year as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was, we had these experiences that not a lot of people knew about, and we wanted to address them in the Gravity Fallsest way we could. And
Well, that not a lot of people knew about, but a lot of people knew that the Pines had some kind of connection, because there
Yeah.
was, this is before A Tale of Two Stands showed us the mezuzah on the Pines family home in New Jersey, but we did have them saying like Holy Moses, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and
they've
I
always kind of been canonically Jewish. That's just kind of always been a thing.
yeah, and was later confirmed after that, which we're very excited about. In Tale of Two Stands, we see a mezuzah on their childhood home, and then
The Stan twins.
the Stan twins' childhood home, and then we hear about their bar mitzvah in the journal. So yeah, to me, I also understood though.
Oh yeah,
to-
spoilers for Gravity Falls at this
Yeah.
point.
If you want to approach Gravity Falls without spoilers, there's a no spoiler book club, a nostalgic time capsule. It's called Mystery Shack Lookback.
Oh, interesting.
Toasted by two losers.
Yeah. Three, yeah.
Among the
Yeah.
bestest losers, though.
It's hosted by two losers and one really cool player.
But yeah, so there was Summerween, there was Pioneer Day. Like, it seemed
Yeah.
like Gravity Falls had its own idea of holidays separate from the rest of the United States, which is the feeling we had as knowing more about Hanukkah than most of our peers.
And my favorite joke from the Kean...
Yeah, Kean Carlisle.
My favorite gag from the Kean Carlisle fan episode of Gravity Falls called Return to the Bunker is the fact that in this episode, Gravity Falls has a nightly, middle-of-the-night parade.
Yes. So they seem to have their own traditions, which is how we kind of felt as people who just thought Hanukkah was equal to Christmas and didn't care which was which. So it's relating to that, as well as like, Mabel has a lot of just weird skills. Like, she's really good at mini golf. Yeah. It's like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to be really good at. So we were just like, she's inexplicably the dreidel master, which doesn't make sense. It is a game based completely off of chance.
Yeah, Mabel
but so is mini golf in a way.
Yeah.
She's got a point.
No, so yeah, Mabel. And we also didn't say how Jewish they were. That was not ever brought up. It was just that all we know is that Mabel has played dreidel a lot. That is all we know.
We approach Hanukkah from both, the secular, but also the historical aspect that, like, we talk about, there's a Hanukkah story. I mean, Judaism in general, we believe that Jesus was a real mensch. Magic, we don't know. He was a good guy.
Also, I think the idea of Stan trying to fake a religious artifact for money is based in Christianity, because, like, that's like Jesus in the toast. Like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is...
Which is the exact kind of thing that he would show at the Mystery Shack.
Right. So the idea of him, like, advertising that he had the original oil from the Hanukkah myth is, I think, based on if you cross hairs too much with Christmas and Hanukkah, you get things like the Jesus in the toast or whatever.
The over-commercialization is the idea that because it's now the dominant holiday, it has become as over-commercialized as Christmas has. And Christmas is now, you can't even say the word in Gravity Falls.
All because the founder was scared of Santa. That was such a funny conceit.
Yes, claustrophobic.
Well, and that was, again, an extension, because, I mean, this was still, I feel like War on Christmas was a bigger meme back then with, like, the Starbucks cups and whatever. I mean, it's still kind of a culture, it's still a thing within the culture war, but less so, I think, now.
Because we have bigger fish to fry.
Well, I guess. Or even smaller, more nonsensical ones, you might say.
Well,
but anyway, it was kind of, let's just take this to its absurd extreme and posit the reality that conservatives think that we live in.
Right, where Christmas is illegal. And Toby getting arrested for possession of mistletoe.
That was so funny.
The previous time I tried rewatching this, I was like, this sucks. We did not do a good job. We were not as good. Because Ella was 14, I was 20, and like we've gotten better at this since. But
and like
this time I was into it though. This time I was like,
I think what we decided is that even though the visual art and the sound like mixing and pacing isn't necessarily where we would have it now, at least by far for my own standards personally, I think the writing we decided holds up in almost every way.
I remember the last time we tried rewatching it, we were a little frustrated with ourselves for explaining the joke too much. I didn't catch that much this time.
I only noticed that like twice this time.
Yeah.
One of the things I really love about this is that you really do so beautifully replicate the tone of Gravity Falls, it feels like.
Thank you.
Like, the mistletoe thing is a really good example of that. And also...
Toby just having every bad thing happen to him and everyone around being okay with it.
Agreeing that he deserved it, yeah.
Yeah.
And listen. According to Norse mythology, mistletoe was a murder weapon, so maybe they had a point.
Yes. Tell me about this. You hinted at this before.
Yes, so... basically...
Speaking of learning about other cultures.
Yeah, so I'd say it's time to bring back IER TLDR. So Balder was having these prophetic dreams that he was going to die. So his mother Freya started asking all of the metals and all of the fire, basically anything you could use to make your average weapon to please not kill him, which basically made Balder invulnerable. And the gods started making a game out of seeing what he could survive. And Loki, being the little bastard that he is, decided to, and basically he found out that she hadn't thought to ask Mistletoe because she thought it was too young to cause any harm to her son.
She missed the Meshuggah heel.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that sort of thing. And Loki murders him with a sprig of mistletoe.
It's just a plant, man.
Nature meant for us to use it.
As a murder weapon?
Yeah.
Apparently. So you're saying that it was a justified arrest because that is dangerous.
Yes,
It can
exactly.
even kill gods, apparently.
And mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it. And a kiss can be deadly if you mean it.
Speaking of holiday specials,
I love Batman Returns.
Batman Returns rocks.
Well, I guess going from frame 1 of the special, which is that there's a disclaimer that none of this is canon, quote, so cool your jets. My jets were cooled. But, it does, I think we knew, even in, midway through season 2, that by setting it during winter break, after the summer that the show takes place in, we kind of accepted that something about the dynamic of the show would be totally different.
This specifically is a re-upload because we got copyright flagged for the theme song, so you made that new one.
That's
So-
true, but I think I remember the disclaimer even without the re-upload.
But I think if it wasn't in the original, that's fine. But here it definitely took, because I know we got complaints the second, spoilers ahead, Ford showed up. Like, why would Ford not be there? Because Ford wasn't there in the room and doesn't like being talked about when people are.
Yes. Yeah. So when it was uploaded in 2014, it got a takedown for the theme song audio, so we re-uploaded it a year later in 2015. I think it still existed on Tumblr and video.
I think I was looking through your channel to see if I could find the commentary, and I found the original upload. So
I'm
I don't know.
genuinely shocked I never came across this in my tumbling down Tumblr. That's crazy to me.
were you following awkward Gravity Falls screen caps?
Who
I was
wasn't?
not.
Waka
I was
waka.
not.
No,
Shocking.
that was Ella's blog.
Yeah, I figured.
And it was huge.
I mean,
and
it
like
still
that's
is. I still have it.
Fair
yeah, that
enough.
was why I pivoted to doing Gravity Falls content. Is I befriended Ella, and then suddenly every time I did Gravity Falls content, it would get so many notes, and I'm like,
So right after, it was the gap between seasons 1 and 2 in which it was really starting to blow up in popularity as well.
yeah,
I wonder if, maybe it was just because I had already been scared off of tracking the Gravity Falls fandom too much, considering certain aspects we will not discuss.
and Ella and I, when we met through actually, she met through my Olaf impression.
I'm keeping that in mind for future reference.
Yeah, my voice is deeper now than it was when I was 20 or 19 or whatever. So if we picture my voice just a little bit higher.
Oh my god. You barely had to do anything there.
No. Had a few viral voicing Olaf posts on Tumblr because I just had to talk and everyone would be like, whoa, you sound just like him. And Ella had discovered it. And I was like, hey, I also did a Bill Cipher impression and sent it to her.
The Olaf X Mike Wazowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because I also, can kind of do a Billy Crystal.
So,
Hello, Roz, my beautiful little garden snail.
Have you told River about this yet?
I don't know. I don't care. I
They're
will,
a
sure.
huge fan of Monsters, Inc.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and then we re-uploaded it in 2015 with a new theme song that I wrote that was to the tune of the Gravity Falls theme song and sang as Seuss. And Charley did point out that, like, even in the year between that and the theme song, my art improved a lot.
Oh yeah, your art is so good in the theme song compared to the rest of the special. I'm like, did you have a training montage?
I must have. To some sort of 80s music, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I will give myself credit where it's due that, like, the characters are all recognizable. No one is so off model that you cannot tell.
You were also a child.
I was
That
also a
too.
child, but I think, like you said, there are people who are that age who are better than I am now.
No, and
I'm like,
I have some issues with my voice acting here. Like, some of it's a little too slow. I don't like my microphone. I don't think I knew how to get better quality. And there are like YouTubers who are 20 that are like as good as I am now. And so I hate looking back at things when I was 20 because of that.
but I'm not gonna
We are
beat
all
myself up about it too much because it is all
Yeah.
in the past. But it's definitely sort of that there was like a stagnation in my development at that point
Aw.
that I made up for later. But there was just it wasn't where I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But
Listen,
it still
we're all
does
on
the
our own
job.
journeys.
Yeah, no,
And
of course.
it started a beautiful 10-year partnership. I think you're my comedy soulmate. I think
Aw.
we walked off into the sunset, getting of a beautiful improvisational comedic partnership there.
yeah. So what I was saying was when she had reblogged the Olaf stuff, I went through like her fandom list on her blog, and I'm like, wait, the Muppets? Weird Al?
And Toy Story.
I got into Gravity Falls as a comedy nerd, and the fandom that started to develop was edgelords, was Homestuck fans. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just not what I'm into. I got into it because of Homestar Runner, so I want these weird episodic town adventures. Yeah, and to find someone in the Gravity Falls fandom who also didn't do edgy fan fictions or cosplays with blood on them. Yeah, who was a Muppets fan and a Weird Al fan and I guess Chuck Jones, Dr. Seuss fan as well. I mean, not that anyone isn't.
Who is it? Exactly.
No.
Thank you.
I mean, that's such a seminal piece of animation, that's I mean, I literally in the new updated theme song I have Stan do the Grinch face.
I saw that's so good.
We've worked on potentially definitely hundreds, because there's 200 episodes of Real Time Fandub. There's, as of yesterday, 69 uploads on the Mystery Shack Lookback feed.
Nice.
So yeah, we felt that spark, realizing to the 20-year-olds now probably don't befriend a 14-year-old. We didn't know that was bad at the time.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was a fortunate, pair up that it didn't,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't encourage people the age I was to do that now, even though it did turn out good.
And also,
but yeah, no,
it's definitely one of those places where the lines were so blurred in terms
it was,
of...
and so I know that it turned out fine for us and pretty bad for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's not a ton of other cases that I know that turned out this positive.
Yeah, but no, we felt an instant, the way we wrote comedy was so similar, and this was our first script together, obviously. And yeah, I cannot, only a couple moments can I tell you which part I wrote and which part Ella wrote.
Yeah. And that's not just because it was 10 years ago, but I think we could say that about...
No, anything. Because we did Banana Slamma for MagFest, a musical based on the Donkey Kong Country TV show. We wrote that.
You might remember it as the one where the stage fell down.
Yeah, there was a viral clip of the stage getting knocked over at MagFest. That was a play that we wrote. We did Universe Falls, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls crossover videos where we got to do Gravity Falls fan episodes again, and it was this is a little weird and awesome.
It's sort of an offshoot of this growing AU where Steven from Steven Universe visits Gravity Falls.
AU!
AUs!
Gravity Falls AUs! This is what I'm talking about. It always felt like there's someone with...
that's just something that we have to say, that we just say it naturally, that it's not oh, this is a joke. That's just kind of like a thing that would come out of my mouth after you said that.
Yeah, there's a running gag in Mystery Shack Lookback for Ella and I, and no one else, where in almost every episode, starting, we think, with Dungeons and More Dungeons,
and that's at least where it's ramping up.
We tried to sneak in the word oeuvre at least once per episode. And we never told each other, hey, I got it this time, you got it that time. We just noticed each other were doing it. And if you listen for it, you can hear us sound really proud of ourselves when we get one in there. And I asked the audience,
great word. It's so many vowels.
Too many vowels. Far too many. You could accomplish that with UVRA. Done.
It's a French word. What do you expect?
Yeah. It also looks like it means egg and doesn't, is another thing I love about it. But
kind of, no, but it means your product, right? It's got to be derived from...
No.
Eggs are somebody's
I did the research here. No etymological similarities in their origin.
You're quite the cunning linguist.
Thank you. That's another thing, is I am obsessed with linguistics as a source of comedy, and so is Ella's mom. But yeah, we tried to sneak that word in every episode. We never told each other about it. It was just something we started doing. And I finally asked the audience, because they're hearing the same conversations we heard that made us realize each other were doing it. So I'm like, did anyone else realize we were doing it? No. So that was a joke in front of thousands of listeners for us. And that's, I think, just the essence of everything we've made. This is the first Gravity Falls fan episode. It also is about my grandma.
Yeah. Seriously, dear listeners, please give it a listen. If you take nothing else from this other than what a beautiful friendship this is and how awesome
10 years
grandma was.
10 years.
Yeah, no, it's 15 minutes. It is so cute and very solid in-character fan fiction.
Yeah, I think that was the prevailing opinion at the time from people as well, just that it felt authentically Gravity Falls, and that's really all we can ask for.
I don't want to say like we're better than other fan fictions, but I think what a lot of people who write Gravity Falls characters are missing is the specific comedic influences that Alex Hirsch has. Because he's kind of a comedy nerd before an animation nerd, really. Like, he didn't really watch TV cartoons outside of The Simpsons, which is...
Grunkle Stan's outfit on Neil Hamburger.
Neil Hamburger, yeah. So it's like... And that was what drew me to Gravity Falls, is like, as a millennial, I had never seen a show made by someone who could be my peer, who was my sister's age, you know? Like... I accepted that if a video game reference happened on Fairly Odd Parents, it would be a reference to an arcade game from 1981 because, or it would just be like so totally different from how video games actually work. And instantly in Gravity Falls, I was like, this person who made this show likes the same things I do. And it sounds like from your previous sentence about telling viewers we're probably ramping up here a little to the end. So may I treat you to one more Carol Cathy story?
Absolutely.
An amusing anecdote.
So her stories were indecipherable. You couldn't tell where they started. You couldn't tell who she was talking about. She would not let us interrupt or ask questions, but to this day, no idea about... I gathered the details of the Gorilla Glue one, but usually cannot tell you a single detail about a story she told me. So I remember my mom, my sister, and I were going to dinner, and my sister's like, yeah, so since grandma doesn't know how to use the internet, she's been making me her personal gift shopper.
You're such a thoughtful gift giver.
She needed a present for her Rabbi Mintz, and just exhausted, I typed into Google, presents for Rabbi Mintz, sarcastically. And I did find that there were like Rabbi Mints, like chocolate covered mint candies made by a rabbi with like some, I don't know if they were shaped like rabbis or something, but she was like, I'll order these. And now grandma is making me call them and complain because they sent the wrong size. The guy who runs this company happens to also be named Rabbi Mintz. That's why the pun was there. And I called and was like complaining that the order got wrong. And I was in touch with his son, who's also a rabbi. And then my mom goes, that's what she was talking about. And we keel over laughing because we realized how my grandma told the story was, I wanted presents for Rabbi Mintz, so Rachel found Rabbi Mintz that Rabbi Mintz makes, but then they didn't send enough Rabbi Mintz, so she called Rabbi Mintz, but was instead talking to his son Rabbi Mintz and said, I tried to get Rabbi Mintz for Rabbi Mintz, but there's not enough Rabbi Mintz for Rabbi Mintz, And we were like laughing.
Will Smith smithing?
Yeah,
Buffalo,
we realized
Buffalo.
when my mom said that's what she was talking about. I had only heard the story from Rachel, my sister. Rachel had only known the story from experiencing it. We'd never heard her tell it. So the fact that my mom said that's what she was talking about, we instantly knew how she told that story, and we're laughing the rest of the meal at Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Mintz.
And was that another unintentionally funny thing that she did?
That one unintentional. I'll tell
Okay,
you
I had a few.
one of my favorite. Well, so the video that I showed you ended with me saying, "All right, say goodbye to YouTube, Grandma," and she said, "I don't even know you, Tube." And I think about that all the time.
That's
But another great one was we were going out onto the highway, turning right, because that's the only way you could turn on a highway. And there was even a big like wall blocking off the other side of the highway. And then there was a sign that said no left turns. And she said, "Yeah, I'd like to see someone make a left turn here."
What a gem of a woman. Oh my God.
She was insane and she was mean. Like, there's also a reference to her being fatphobic in this special. I know you're a blob, but I just thought you might like that particular cell.
It's hampered a bit by use of the word blob.
She would call fat people. She had a fat person who went to her gym and she called her the blob.
Wow.
Awful.
Hilarious though. Like, let's be honest here. Like, if
Nobody's perfect.
if you were trying to,
In possibly the most quaint way possible.
it's like if you were trying to write a fatphobic character that the audience wasn't supposed to agree with, and you needed them to be funny, you wouldn't think of that. That's too good. That's too good.
Yeah.
The blob?
Yes,
Nobody
Cuthbert.
would say that.
And also I just thought you might like that particular salad. Like,
Right. Apparently, I couldn't hear what she was saying. We did write the whole story because you could hear Bernie talking in the background.
oh, yeah.
But apparently what happened was Bernie had suggested a salad to Cuthbert, and Cuthbert took it as a fat joke. And Bernie was just like, no, it just seemed like your kind of food, was apparently the story, but it was a very long story. So,
Which is the whole
and that's how
joke.
they ultimately steal the ever-burning oil, is that Bernie is paying so much attention to his own story that he has not noticed if people are still there listening to him.
That sort of gag is always funny, I feel like.
But I've done it. I've hung up on her and had some inkling that she still kept talking for like 10
You can
minutes.
feel it.
No, someone told me, I think, or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And actually, before we wrap up, I did want to bring up Seuss's kind of subplot about how he's trying to
Dr.
write
Seuss's
Hanukkah.
subplot. Yeah.
Hey. Well, also just, Seuss trying to write Hanukkah carols, because ain't that the thing? There's not a whole lot of them.
No, well, they don't exist because it's not really that major of a holiday to warrant singing about
exactly.
it. It would just be like that one night that we partied.
Yeah, so we did a trailer for this before we finished it, which was the Raz Dazzler.
Yes.
Toby Determined sings the Hanukkah classics, and then we got through
It was like the candle lighting prayer and Little Dreidel.
Dreidel, candle-lighting prayer, Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, let's light the menorah. And then at the end, he was just like,
Friend of the show, Bex, did actually sing another song called Light One Candle for the World's Elsewhere Theater Company's Winter Cabaret in 2020. I actually used it to wrap up the Hanukkah episode last year. Beautiful song. Definitely recommend looking it up.
Cool.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. Well, light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears.
Seuss is just trying to write a song and goes, Festival of Lights. And then when we see Bernie, the oil or something for the first time.
I don't remember. We wrote it 10 years ago.
Yeah, you hear a choir actually singing Seuss's terrible song. And that's one of my, we did a near identical joke in the recent Well-Abridged Me Princess where Link, trying to think of the type of stuff Triforce of Power says, oh, I'm the red one. And then later when we finally see the Triforce of Power, he for no reason says, oh, I'm the red one.
I mean, that never fails.
It's the funniest thing in the world to me. Okay, that can't be actually what it is. That can't be genuine. And then later it's genuine and you're like, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And then he ends up just doing a You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch parody about Stan, which is hysterical.
Also, Grunkle starts with a GR. And Hanukkah starts with a CH, so.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. And there's a joke about that if you pause on the paper.
Back to all the freeze frame, like Irrational Treasure documents and all those sort of things.
Yeah, there's a long document. Ella, I think mostly Ella wrote out the full document about Christmas being illegal in the town. And
that's very Gravity Falls creation behavior.
And it ends with, also, how is it spelled? Is there supposed to be a C? Is there one K? It just ends with just ranting about.
And yeah, for those who do decide to watch it, there are codes. There are. Codes.
We don't know what they say.
We forget.
The codes came up, and Ella was like, "I no longer remember what those translate to."
They are decodable. They are decodable.
That is so fun. Gosh.
You've heard of self-inserts. I disagree. Make your grandma a character in your favorite show.
She deserves it.
Absolutely.
I never made a Gravity Falls self-insert. I don't find that interesting. I find it more interesting. How would these characters interact with my grandma?
Yes.
So, if you're looking for a Hanukkah present for your grandma, dear listeners,
put her in Gravity Falls.
Or whatever your favorite show is. But mostly Gravity Falls.
Yeah. Put her in The Bear.
Now, see, that sounds dangerously like Midsommar, and we're not about that.
Right, it's midwinter right now.
I just mean like the chef on The Bear would just be
Yeah.
like, I need that cook, and then your grandma would be looking at the Gorilla Glue in the microwave, like, I don't think you can put this in here for too long.
Not for too long.
So why does How the Grinch Stole Christmas endure?
Because it fucks.
I mean, it's so many reasons.
Well, so and as a secular Christmas celebrator, I still, grew up with Santa Claus and stuff, and the stories about being saved, changed, or redeemed by the spirit of Christmas always got to me, still make me cry. I'm 31. And also, it's a very anti-capitalist story. The Grinch...
Christmas stories are.
The Grinch realizes that consumerism and materialism are a red herring, and there is actually something meaningful about coming together during the holidays underneath it all.
It endures for the same reason that Christmas Carol endures,
Yeah.
It is the Christmas Carol, basically. So what it is...
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah.
Why for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how?
Mm-hmm.
Theodore Seuss Geisel was 53 at the time that he wrote this book. And because he had made a lot of money off of his children's books, he got to live in a very big house at the top of the hill. And it was very, very quiet place until Christmas time.
Noise.
And he found himself getting very, very angry with all of the noise. And also is like, wait, am I Ebenezer Scrooge? What am I doing here? So this book was him channeling that self-awareness into something like, I shouldn't be like this. And I think a person relating to Scrooge by seeing that in themselves, a wealthy person relating to Scrooge by seeing that in themselves and trying to come out a better person at the end, is something we should all take a lesson from.
I mean, we keep on hoping that ghosts will visit certain billionaires already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's also, we just we twist it, but we also kind of play it normally, where it's Seuss insists that the holiday is not about stealing things, but it's actually about spending time with your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And then Seuss is like, oh, remember it was about stealing? And then Stan's like, nah, it was about loved ones, because, his niece and nephew stole the menorah.
As well as Stan says the holiday is about things burning for a really long time. And then the kids say the moral of the story is, I don't think it has a moral. Which is like our jokes on like, if you try to pretend too hard that Hanukkah is a high holy day, you'll hit a pothole. You'll be like,
yeah, exactly.
Wait a second. What the hell is the Seleucid Empire, and why do I care that they were defeated?
What
if they just partied without oil burning?
But what it means to us as, secular people is that it's about coming together with your loved ones, as most holidays are.
And stealing.
And chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
On it.
About winning chocolate by encouraging children to gamble.
So to us, that is how the story of Hanukkah endures. And then, of course, the story of the Grinch endures from that redemption quality and the self-awareness that it takes. And also that the animated special, of course, bolsters it with all this gorgeous animation and the narration.
And the songs. My favorite gag in our video is when Stan just dumps the stuff he stole out of the trunk, and then the townspeople gather around it and start singing Welcome Christmas.
I think that's all you just layered on top of your own voice.
That is all me singing Davu Dores.
Kind of in like a warped way. Like, I don't think it's exactly...
No. And they're also, I say I was very tired. So I purposely did it like unenthusiastically. But yeah, also the songs from How the Grinch Stole Christmas are fantastic. I mean, we all love Thurl Ravenscroft. If you don't, what's wrong with you?
And on the ride today that had him on it, right?
Yes, I was.
And I just want to point out that Dr. Seuss wrote those lyrics. He wrote the special. Chuck Jones just did the animation. And your soul is an appalling dump heap, overflowing with the most disgraceful assortment of deplorable rubbish imaginable, mangled up and tangled up knots, is proof that you shouldn't piss off Dr. Seuss. And I'm glad I never did.
It's his first diss track.
No, it is. It is a diss track about a character he based on himself.
Yes,
but
my workplace holiday choir is literally singing the Pentatonics version of that, and it's just like,
oh wow,
damn, who pissed you off?
I mean, we know the answer to that now. But
Dr. Seuss would fill out He would fill out a job application. It's like, list 3 words that you feel best describe you. And he would go, well, let's see.
Stink.
Stank, and,
Like, most of his books are for early readers. Like, Cat in the Hat is for a much younger demographic than Lorax or Grinch. And so, like, the idea that this guy who taught me how to read also wrote a song that's just a grocery list of the funniest insults ever written. Like, there's not one, I mean, there's a stink, stank, stunk, but there's not one stinker there. Every single insult rhymes, fits the meter, and is like the most just cutting insult ever written. It's so funny.
Listen, there's a reason Tumblr decided that no, this is Tony the Tiger writing his breakup song with the Grinch.
If we're talking about Tumblr, I prefer holy fuck, it's the Gunch.
Holy fuck, it's the Gunch. He has a fucking gun.
I think we're learning that we are on very different sides of Tumblr here.
Interesting.
There was a meme about your Grinch OC, the Gunch. It's the Grinch's brother. He has a gun. His theme song is Holy Fuck, it's the Gunch. And I remember one time I was playing Gmod with Penny Parker, and you can like set any model as an NPC and set them to have a weapon and set them to be on attack. So she was like, oh no, Gunches! And then an army of Grinches with guns came at us.
The internet's a crazy place.
Yeah, so... No, but I've always interpreted it as Thurl Ravenscroft is supposed to be Boris Karloff's singing voice. I always thought that was supposed to be the narrator.
Yeah.
But it's like Thurl Ravenscroft is also probably more famous now than Boris Karloff is. Like
Depending
in that,
I could see that.
Well, in that Disney is still something people go to and appreciate today, and Boris Karloff is this thing in the past you might have to research.
Yeah.
Fair enough, even with the Dark Universe coming to Epic Universe, which actually looks very awesome.
Well, he's not going to be in any of them.
Nope, I doubt it.
He's very dead, and I know maybe a bolt of lightning could fix that, but...
Oh, wouldn't that be cruel irony?
It'll happen to my grandma before it happens to him, though.
Maybe they could add, and since, it's all Universal, they could put the Grinch in the Dark Universe.
There you go.
It's so funny you mentioned that.
I assume you're trying to segue us into what's the attraction, I assume.
I am saving that for if we ever actually get Tony on the show.
We did that when he was on.
We did that, yeah.
Exactly.
Except we called it Butts Be Betraction to be legally distinct.
Copyright
That's
safe,
so funny. Final thoughts?
Yeah.
Don't actually watch it.
As far as what not to do, I think don't put Gorilla Glue in the microwave.
Do not ever don't have a drawer dedicated to your federal crimes.
No.
Please.
Don't.
Or at least lock it if you do.
And don't say Gelt for 12 years.
No, don't do that.
Don't talk to strangers. Or do. I don't remember.
That joke was good too.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That's a very Stan thing to say.
I am prouder of this than I thought I would be on.
Same.
Aww,
Same. We hated it the last time we rewatched this together.
I hope,
but maybe just more time.
Well, maybe our heart grew 3 sizes this day.
Oh, must have. It must be the.
It's the heart.
I hope my enthusiasm also helped with that.
I think
No.
it did. I really think it did.
I did. I don't think it did.
Okay. We're the angel and devil then.
Yeah. Do microwave Gorilla Glue.
But no, you are a fantastic host. This is a fantastic podcast, and I'm very happy to have been on. And I look forward to being on more.
If your takeaway is, well, they did tell a story about someone living through microwave and Gorilla Glue. She did not live. So that was the first part of the story.
It wasn't because of the Gorilla Glue, though.
It was cancer, so...
Say that it wasn't, yeah.
It was lung cancer, and she had quit cigarettes 20 years prior to it, so...
Oof.
Don't microwave Gorilla Glue.
Please do not.
Yeah,
Please do not.
That's bad for your health.
Buy the stamps. I know that I would again.
No, Ella, she had stamps. Again, this is the second stamp. The first stamp was off of a book of stamps. She could have just used that same. No, at no point in this story was the problem that she didn't have enough stamps.
Yeah.
She was just very determined to use her stolen stamps.
I know, like, there's a stereotype associating Judaism with frugality. That's not my experience. My experience is these cartoonish frugality things my grandma did. I'm not talking about like
But again,
generally as a
again, I have to
culture.
stress, blowing up your microwave is not frugal.
Well, no, because we paid for the new microwave,
Okay,
so.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah,
Anyway,
don't
yeah.
put Gorilla Glue in the microwave. Don't
Ever.
save Gelt for 12 years.
No. When your grandchild gets a new phase, like let's say they're 12 years old and they get really into Tinkerbell and then like Fae lore, don't stockpile gifts because phases sometimes change. My favorite color was orange when I was like 10, and when she would just get me anything that was orange, at a certain point I'm like, this doesn't really appeal to me outside of the color, and I had to tell her, hey grandma, I don't like orange anymore. And she was like devastated, and I didn't understand why. And I later learned it's because she had a closet of the next 5 years of Hanukkah birthday presents for me. And nowadays my brand is all teal. You've seen me with teal eyeshadow. If you've heard of me, you've seen me with teal eyeshadow. I chose teal as my favorite color the month she died because I did not let myself have a favorite color out of fear that she would buy dozens of things that I didn't want.
My goodness. So basically she was the accidental star of this episode, so that's cool.
No, the intentional.
The accidental star of my life.
The accidental star of your life, but the intentional star of this episode.
The intentional star of How the Grunkle Stole Hanukkah, the video. The accidental star of How the Grunkle Stole Hanukkah, the episode of In Each Retelling. And the accidental star of my life.
Yeah.
Bless.
Star of David specifically.
So do watch that if you feel like it.
Don't watch it.
Add it to your holiday rotation.
I like us reminiscing about it on this podcast more than I like it.
That's
like
valid. That's right.
Adding it to their list. You know, it can be the 5th Hanukkah special that you watch this year.
Don't watch 8 Crazy Nights.
It can be the 4th Hanukkah special.
That was a good punchline.
Yes. That was perfect.
So happy 10 years, Ella.
Happy 10 years, Charlie. And happy Hanukkah to all. And to all 8 nights.
A good 8 nights.
A good 8 nights, yes. Well, you two, again, we already mentioned you are the hosts of your podcast. Would you like to plug it?
No.
We kind of, I mean, you know, it's been done.
Well, that was me being the devil on the shoulder. Now the angel is going to plug it.
Yeah. Well, it's called Mystery Shack Lookback. It's available wherever you can find podcasts. Probably, you know, over there, up there, somewhere.
High up on top of Mount Crumpet.
That's true. Yeah. Or where the griggle grass grows.
Where the griggle grass grows. Around-ish when this episode of In Each Retelling is coming out, we are finally releasing our podcast extravaganza on Book of Bill. We don't have a final runtime at the time we're recording this, over 6 hours long. Over 6 hours long. It guest stars Bill Cipher, Alex Hirsch, which are separate, but for some reason the same guy sent us the audio.
Well, I guess they have the same agent.
And Hana Hyperfixates. It is great. It's a really, really good podcast. We don't say oeuvre in it though, so never mind. It's a bad podcast. We don't. No, I remember we didn't say oeuvre. I'm so sorry, Ella. We could go back. We could re-record something.
I think you got it now. But do you have anything else to plug then?
Yeah,
I plug in my light up menorah, so I don't have to worry about candles.
Speaking of, you know, when we eventually do cover Phantom of the Paradise, I can go even more insane about it, but I recently helped run a zine all about the 50th anniversary of Phantom of the Paradise. That's available for pre-order, and it'll ship in the new year. It's going to be available for pre-order until the new year. Feel free to go to potpzine.carrd.com to find out more about that. Find me at Drawn Without Ref on all of the socials, or most of them at least. And check out, I help run a theater company now here in Philadelphia. It's called Pretzel Theater Company. Check that out, see what we're doing. Probably something in the new year. What do you got, Charlie? I'm dying to talk about the plugs here.
I've got...
You've given us a thumbs up for those listening.
I don't know. Just listen to the podcast. It's a really good podcast.
Yeah. And watch Wamp, too. Yeah?
Yeah, sure. I have a show called Well Abridge Me Princess. If you like me and Ella's writing of this special, we got older and better at it at some point. It is an act of gender expression. Voiced both Link and Zelda. My first time voicing a female character. Ella co-wrote it, so it's very horny.
That's not exclusively my fault.
No, I specifically, because you were very busy when I started working on it, so I separated the series into horny episodes and weird episodes, and had Millie and Ray co-write the weird episodes. And I'm like, oh, a horny one's coming up. I better work with Ella on this script.
Yeah, that's more like it. Dress for the job you want, right? Even if that's nothing.
Dress for the job you want, so go into work naked, because you don't go into work naked. Don't microwave girl.
Yeah, don't do that,
gender
kids.
expression. I also do this podcast called The Matrix Reclamations with my good friend Hope. It's all about, as its title implies, reclaiming the Matrix from a trans femme perspective, since for some reason people wildly misinterpret what that franchise is about, so we're hoping to correct that. And Charlie's going to be on the next episode that we're doing.
Ella, you and Ellie need to be friends immediately.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been trying to get Ella involved with your stuff for a while.
Added Ellie in the server, so we'll get that ball rolling.
Good. And for my Make the World Better call to action of the week, I am going to be shouting out the GoFundMe of Amal. She is a Gazan mother who is living under Israeli occupation with her husband Fayez and her son Mohammed. And unfortunately, her son is dealing with some intense medical issues, and he needs medical care from outside of Gaza. So if you can find room in your wallet to donate to their GoFundMe in the links down below, we'd really appreciate it. And as always, you can find me at Favor Vieira on basically all of the socials. And you can follow this podcast on still Twitter for the time being until that ship finally sinks, and Blue Sky at IER Podcast. Consider helping us reach the next chapter of our story by donating to our Patreon, which, for the record, given it's the holiday season, you can now gift a Patreon subscription to the nerd in your life. And we also have Ko-Fi pages, or you could hit the support the show link below. Or if, honestly, there are too many expenses with the holidays to do that, please still consider rating us on the podcatcher of your choice, leaving us a review. There are comments in the Spotify page now. Or even just giving us good word of mouth with, again, the nerds in your life. But either way, have very happy holidays, and remember, stories gain power in each retelling.
You're a mean one, Mr. Pines. You're not a decent guy. You're like a big old rain cloud that's just hanging in the sky, Mr. Pines. You're stealing from the town and I just wonder why. You're a con man, Mr. Pines. Although you're still my bro, you're not as bad as Toby and his evil mistletoe, Mr. Pines. At least you alerted the authorities, so way to go. You're a prowler, Mr. Pines. And your hygiene's rather poor. You've got all the charming features of a seasick Manitor, Mr. Pines. If I had to choose between two of you, I'd pick the seasick Manitor. You're a cheapskate, Mr. Pines. You treat folks like they're punks. But now you're on a level that I never would have thunk, Mr. Pines. If I were to pick 3 words to best describe you, dude, I'd say big, bad, grunk. You conflict me, Mr. Pines. 'Cause to you, I'm like your son. I can only hope and pray your evil plots will be undone, Mr. Pines. We're gonna play catch sometime, dude. It'd be pretty fun. You're a mean one, Mr. Pines. But we think you're really cool. You talk
taught us about stealing, and you didn't raise a fool, Mr. Pines. I briefly thought you were a bad person, but actually you rule. You rule, dude.
Oh, wait, I just realized I completely forgot to announce the next episode. Well, the holiday season is going strong, and what is going on with my lights here? And now there's ominous music. Okay, well, I will not be answering any phone calls in the near future, I can tell you that much. Wait, was that a creaking door sound? Oh, God. Okay, duck and cover, duck and cover! Nosferatu? Or, I guess Count Orlok would be the better term. Okay, look, buddy, I've already fought enough vampires this year, so really I don't want to get into it, especially around the holidays. Wait, why are you giving me this? I wish to assist you in defeating Dracula's time loop. Oh, so you legit communicate through the written word. You are actually a silent character. Okay, that's fair, but, now why would you want to... Oh, nope. Forget I almost asked that. Sorry about that, Count. I guess, considering the fact that we still haven't technically finished Dracula Weekly, because, between the election and the holiday season, things have been a little crazy, and I've had to prioritize other things. I guess so, but that might be a while. Wait, don't you have a new movie coming out this year? Man, you write fast. Okay, so I guess you got the vampire speed. Yes, but I will admit I feel as if my original appearance might get lost to time thanks to it. That's super fair. But, you know what? Again, spirit of the holidays. Dear listeners, our next episode is going to be on the 1922 Nosferatu in honor of the upcoming remake and I guess our new alliance with Count Orlok. You're not going to bring on a new plague, right? Because we haven't even really recovered from the first one. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, please, just behave yourself, and we'll be happy to include you on the super belated Dracula Weekly finale. Awesome.
Alright, who's ready for one last verse?
You mean one, Mr. Pines. We think you're really cool.
You taught us about stealing, but you didn't raise a fool, Mr. Pines. So, if the flames never go out, what do we do with the menorah after the holiday's over?
Wait, what?